Imagine you are so burnt out and tired of your 9 to 5 and finally decide, you know what, YOLO, I am going to quit my job and go on my own. And today's guest is my co-host from Real Estate Chisme, and she is quitting her 9 to 5 to open her own practice. I think it's so important to see behind the scenes of the mindset. She is set to do that in September, which, is right around the corner. But yeah, hola, Lynn. Welcome to the Money Chismes side. She actually has been here before. She came and shared her story of her real estate investing journey. So I'll link that below. And also, don't forget, if you're not subscribed to other podcasts, the Real Estate Chisme podcast, she's my co-host there, and we talk about real estate investing on that side, and we talk about our journey as well over there. So go over there and check that out. But yeah, Lynn, how are you feeling? It's around the corner.
Serious. I'm getting excited and anxious. I would say more anxious than excited, but I think it's going to be a good rest of my comfort zone. And if you don't know me, guys, I used to be a nurse. I've been an employee for all of my life. So this is coming from the mindset of somebody that's never thought she was going to be an entrepreneur, never thought I was going to open my own business. I kind of did the same thing a lot of first gen immigrants did, which was like, okay, you immigrated to America, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a job, and you're going to work until you're 65 and you're going to retire, right? That is the plan. And that's what I was thinking I was going to do. But then when I started investing in real estate, I realized I was like creating a business. And then I was just like, why am I able to totally switch what I do and create a different business, but I'm not comfortable enough to do that as my own career, like that thing to actually study like 8 years for, But it's because I think I think a lot of first gen immigrants, they come here and then they have that hustle mentality of like, I'm going to open my own business. I'm going to try to make it in America. And I did the same thing, but in a different way, in a different kind of mindset. So I think trying to switch that on, coming from a person that I'm like, I'm not the oldest daughter, but I feel like oldest daughter syndrome of like, I feel like I have to carry everything on my back and I have to be the pillar of my family where everybody comes to me for advice because, you kind of like overcorrect and try to make sure you have enough financial security for everybody and all the information. Then you've been filling out your parents' documents and FAFSA applications on your own. So you're like, okay, well, let me do that for the rest of my life and take care of everybody. I'm a nurse practitioner. I decided to this year leave my W-2. So that's on track for next month. And then open my own practice, which comes in with its own thing. It's not only opening your own company, but it's learning marketing, it's learning CEO mentality, it's learning how to delegate certain things, it's spending money, a lot of money, without seeing a return anywhere. But for a
I
while,
know
it's like,
how that feels.
yeah, taking a risk on yourself, investing on yourself, betting. It's like gambling almost. I feel very uncomfortable with it, but I'm going to try it out. And I think I'm going to try it out because I'm in a place with the real estate investing, which is providing some kind of like security, some kind of sense of like, okay, well, you were able to do this. Now maybe you can do this as well. And I also want to mention, because I do have imposter syndrome, that I have to be okay with the scenario of like, even if you fail, even if you lose money, even if your practice is not successful, are you going to be okay? And I feel like I'm going to put myself in an okay position. So it's gambling with some sense of security for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest kind of mindset hurdles that I've noticing, like a lot of Latinas, especially that went and got a degree, they have their career, and I just see them as like, okay, we were taught, okay, go get that stable career, and we are in our stable career, and then it's like we decide we're going to walk away from it, and so then people like call us like, like, oh wow, you're crazy, or like, why would you leave such a job, a stable job that has all these, like, let's say, benefits, and it's a high salary, I'm sure. And but at some point you just kind of like realize, like, you know what, like, I can own my own time, and at least that was for me. Like, I left a really stable paycheck. I mean, the military was very stable. First and 15th on the dot. You knew exactly how much you would get. You had promotions pretty much set and all that. And so, but like I just felt like I wanted more. I realized that I didn't really have to work as hard, but that came with a lot of feelings that you were talking about because we are kind of like the family managers. They rely on us and all that. So then you end up being, because you are the person that has the career, the stable job, and all those benefits, then you become like that foundation, that stability. And so then it's like, you know, now I want to go on my own, which is losing that stability. How are you dealing with all that of like, and how is your family, handling it? Because I'm sure they're freaking out, like, oh, okay, you're going on your own or whatever, or are they supportive? Like, how's that going?
Well, it's funny because like both my parents, my mom and my dad are very close to them. Like right now, they're in a trip to Peru right now. But my mom is the person that basically I inherited all her frugality from her. And she's a very anxious person. And I don't consider myself a very anxious person, but I feel like this transition is giving me anxiety. And my dad is like the delusional person. Like you can do anything you want, basically. And then so I feel like I have both, a little bit of both. But my mom is like, why would you do that? That sounds like it's just going to be bad for you. Like you're giving up all of those things. And my dad is like, oh, you can do whatever. If you want to be president, you can be president. Like, I'm like, I wasn't in the United States. That's a requirement. But I love that thing about my dad because growing up and poor and very scarcity mindset, my dad always had like a north star of like things are gonna get better. And for me as well, I think I have that with that like he doesn't have the frugality. So he's very impulsive and he will like do things that are probably not for his north star. But so I think I have that from my mom. I'm like, okay, how are we gonna get there? Right. Like so incremental basis. So I did a lot of goals for myself, like safeguards, security base. And it's really hard for me because I'm a type B person. I kind of like don't like planning so much in advance, but I have to plan so much in advance because I'm used to a level of life. I have a house in Los Angeles, so I have a big mortgage. I have expenses, and I'm used to like not having to worry about going and having a dinner with friends on a weekend kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
that is my quality of life. And then I think that once I have no income, that's going to significantly change. So I definitely had to set myself up for like 1 year of expenses from my life. That would be I think. Then I also set up a portfolio goal for my rental property, which would be like for all properties, like a very big safety nest for I don't have to worry if like let's say I have to repair 3 roofs, then I have the money for that. And I don't have to incur that out of like what income I'm missing at the time, right? So that's two safety measures. Also, I have a 401k. Um, when though I invest, there's something I can dip into. I also have a HELOC that I can dip into, and worst case scenario, business credit cards if something happens with my portfolio or something like that. But all those things are to say that those are action and planning oriented things, right? So you have to set yourself in a position in which like it's going to give you a little bit of security and that's going to push you into that direction. And I don't think a lot of people think about those instances because I feel like people are get very excited about something and then they're like, oh, we're just gonna go and do this. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and do that. But like also do A, B, C, D, E, F. So when you are, in that position, you don't come crumbling down because it's going to be such a hard fall if you don't have those safety measures for yourself. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to avoid. Like if even if it's a hard fall economically, I would say like emotionally, it shouldn't be something that's going to destroy my confidence and destroy my drive or my ambition.
Yeah, I think that's what people might see on the outside looking in. It's like, oh, she quit her job and, she started her own practice or whatever, and don't see all the planning that went behind the scenes and the preparation. Just like you said, you saved up for a year's worth of expenses. You have all these other things. Your rental portfolio, as well to bring in income, and and those are available if worst comes to worst. But you also have a HELOC. and you also have your 401k. So you have a lot of safety nets under you. So it's not like you just like, of course I did the clickbaity hook, but you planned it. And that's something similar to me when I left the military. People, I guess a lot of people were just like, you know what? But I had been planning it for like 3 years, right? And I lowered my expenses and, I started, networking outside of the military and I started, finding the community. This is when I started building Money Chisme and all that. And of course, I continued with my real estate and I switched my whole strategy. I just sold everything and then just started again with multifamily now. And so that's the route I'm going. And, I had the buffer too with my husband and of course some of the benefits with the military. I mean, I knew that I could be going to school. I get a stipend monthly and I paid off all like my debts and things like that. So if worse comes to worse, I maybe get a part-time job to cover some extra bills. But we really lowered all our expenses, sold my car, paid off his truck, and really like all our main bills is just the mortgage and just regular electric and food stuff like that. So yeah, that's some of the steps that I took. So it's not like, and at the end of the day, like I still have like my degree. I could always go like find a job or whatever, or whatever. So that's part of it, of planning. Like don't get frustrated with your career. Definitely start planning. Even if you feel like just a little small speck of like, man, I'm starting to get burnt out, or that's when you should start planning. It's like, okay, well, let me start, figuring out my exit strategy if you do want to exit, and start building that safety net. So that way, you can leave when you want. So I wanted to show people that on the behind the scenes of you preparing. So I want to hear about like how has it been going? What have you had to do? And like, what is your biggest struggle, I guess, with dealing?
I think we talked about it right before I came into the call. But there's a lot of legality part for my business. So, like in the state of California, California is a restrictive state in terms of business. I think if you live here, you probably know it's really hard to run a business here. But as a nurse practitioner, my scope of practice is basically I need to be overseen by a MD or psychiatrist. So the first step was to get a contract with a psychiatrist or a doctor that you can have a collaborative agreement, right? That's drawing up a contract that I pay. Basically, I have an oversight, but it's kind of like an employee. So like it's a monthly paycheck that they get from me. And then the legality of it is, in order for me to practice in California, I have to have a corporation. So open up a corporation, not just an LLC, but a corporation. So with that comes for like your articles of incorporation, a statement of information, like corporation bylaws. Like I had to write out what my corporation looks like. I remember meeting with the legal team, and the first thing that they asked me was like, what is your business plan? And I'm like, I don't have a business plan. Like I have patients and they pay me. Like that's my business plan. And then, like having to write down and be like, okay, like this is real, right? But I also prepare myself, like you said, like side hustle, right? In the beginning, actually, this plan kind of started 2 years ago. I started working out of my 9 to 5 as a solo, what is that called? Sole proprietorship. So I started doing hours to see if I was like testing my toes, like would I like doing in my private practice? Would I have clients? How would I prescribe? Because I'm doing everything telehealth, so everything's online based. So I can work from home. I can be remote, which is not anything that I ever worked in the past. I never worked remote. So just getting that set up to see like what EHR like platforms I like, what is more simple for me, like so testing different platforms, like every other month applying for different prescribing tools, and then to see which one I like the most or which team do I like the most. And with AI, there's a lot of things that have been integrated in that and there. And then so you have to test out. So I gave myself like a lot of time to test out not only what I like private practice, what tools would I want to use, what legal teams do I need, like, right? Like, what do I have to do? And then kind of educating myself of like what marketing is and like making a website and what is like networking or how would I network? Who do I need to talk to? Like, how do I create a funnel of clients. So all those things that you think a company would do for you, like you do for yourself. And then so such as, creating something silly like a business plan. And I think the biggest I'm an action driven person, so you give me a list and I'll do whatever, right? Like buy lots of property, applying for an EIN, like applying for a DBA, making a website, like okay, done, 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 done. But the biggest thing for me is like marketing yourself. I feel so icky about like trying to sell my services or talking about myself. And it's just that keeps being like my biggest. I wish I could just be like, oh, click this and then you'll be in. But no, and I have to meet people and then make connections and be like, here's my business card. If you have a referral, please think of me. I speak English and Spanish, like all those things. So that is probably the thing that I hate the most. But it's in order to grow your company, you have to talk about yourself because who knows about you until like they see you. And I know we're talking about Violetta. How many times do they have to hear your name before they go and see your website or click, meet this client or add the cart, whatever. It's like 7 times that they have to hear about you or 19 times until like they buy into making an appointment with you. And that's something that I keep running into. And I think in our own podcast and our own the own thing that we love doing, which is educating other women and Latino women, we always forget to like promote like the school community where you can join for free or just, come and check our website, maybe the blogs or leave comments or likes or whatever. Like that back and forth of selling and marketing, it's what feels like the most challenging.
Oh yeah, I could definitely oh my god, I could go on about the marketing side. And yeah, we were kind of talking about it offline of how it's been a struggle and I've had Money Cheeseman for I think we're about to hit like 4 years. I started this like around 2021 around COVID and I was just kind of like learning and just like, learning as I go. And then this last year, I've been so much more intentional, especially with the podcast and all that stuff. And it's starting to gain traction and increase in downloads and all that stuff. But I still can't get like the sales part of it because yeah, I want to help other Latinas to invest in real estate, but I just can't make myself to go out there every day and be like, oh, sign up for this, buy this, or whatever, right? Because I'm not. Maybe it's like the culture or mindset, or I don't know. I just get it's like it's hard for me to sell because to me there's a whole psychology to like the selling as well and stuff. And Lynn touched on it that they have to see something like at least 7 times before they go and take action and stuff. So like, but to me in my mind, I feel like I'm spammy and annoying and all that stuff. But yeah, it's something that me and Lynn we've been talking about offline of like how we're going to just grow our school community because we got to tell people that it's available, right? And then how we want to structure, like our offers. What do we want to, offer? Like, do we do like workshops? Well, like what, like, so that's in the works as well as we figure out how. Well, number one, to help other Latinas because that's the goal. We want to encourage more Latinas, but at the same time, we also want to make money, obviously, right? Like we want to get paid, at least to pay the bills. So yeah, that's been a learning process. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, it is a learning process. And I think it speaks a lot about our own selves, right? Like why is it so hard for us to market ourselves? Why is it so hard? What are we afraid of? Is it rejection? Because it's not like I wouldn't say it's rejection, like if it's not for you, it's not for you kind of thing, right? But
Hmm.
it's something that I assume it's just like talking, just not being faithful or being almost too assertive, being like over controlling. Almost it feels like we're imposing. But in reality, the algorithm doesn't benefit us. Like the algorithm only benefit us if we're like loud, like obnoxious, politically inclined, like all of those things, right? Like there's no other way to propagate or extend our message if we don't talk about it, right? Because we're not going to go viral for like this is how you make this is how you make money for your future, increasing investing in real estate. Probably something else going on in the algorithm, but that's the thing. We want to grow mostly because we want to get a community not only for ourselves probably make business partnerships in the future with you, get you engaged, get you involved in real estate for you and your family, for you to create generational wealth. And also because everybody needs a community. I would love to have like a 1 day hangout, like prepare like a Mexico trip or a Canadian trip or whatever, where we all meet and talk about our deals, our real estate, our struggles or challenges, not only as gross investors, but as mothers, older siblings, like whatever you are going through as well.
Yeah, we want to like have like monthly coffee and real estate chisme in the school community. I think maybe a good goal would probably be in September to host our first one, because right now, of course, she's busy trying to get all her ducks in a row to launch in September, and like be on her own. And so I'm thinking like maybe mid-September and September, maybe do just kind of like a very laid back, just kind of get it started. Because I think that's another thing, is the perfectionism in me is like, well, I want to have X amount of people first, so that way we get a good group. And it's kind of like, no, let's just get it started. Even if it's just like me, Lynn, and one other person, like it's still, like helpful. And then I'll just slowly start growing and stuff. But like, yeah, if that's something that you're interested, make sure I'll link it below. What other, like any other last insights that someone might not be aware of?
Yeah, I think that, I was hanging out with some friends the other day, and like from the outside in, it might feel like I'm doing these things and like there is no setbacks. And there is plenty of setbacks for sure in all of my career, right? But I think if I concentrate on the setbacks and I talk about the setbacks, then I'm just discouraging you from moving forward. Like I've heard from one friend that's like, how do you make money? That's such a broad question. Like I don't know, what are you asking for? Like, how do I make my money? How do you increase your income? How do you increase your cash flow? Those are two very different things. Like, for example, I'm leaving my W-2 right now and I'm doing my own business. But what I did majority of my 20s is like jump every 2 years, right? Because that is how I knew to increase my own income significantly. And a lot of us, we get comfortable in our own job. And maybe like we do have something like the military where you get promotions ever so often, right? But in other types of works or other types of industries, the only way you get a job like increase on your salary is if you jump hop, if you're chasing that next job. And it could be like old thinking to say like loyalty to a company is where you really get seniorship. And in my experience, seniorship doesn't do anything for my income. So having loyalty to companies, specifically when the turnover is high, it doesn't make sense for you. So that would be, I think, a lot of side hustles, right? If you enjoy what you do, then you probably won't mind working more hours in your field. But if you don't enjoy what you do, then what are the side hustles that you can do in order to bring additional income, right? That doesn't feel like you're giving away so much of your time. And that could be selling something on Etsy. That could be hosting like little events or renting out your backyard. I had a friend that prepared this little cater event. So she'll put her little, she had a little nice backyard, and then she'll put on Facebook Marketplace, rent out my backyard to couples. If you want to have like a dinner catered to you, we could do that for you. So those are things that are very creative and very like flexible in order for you to bring additional income. It was $100, $200 a month, whatever it is, in order to plan your exit. So I would say that that's something that you do have to do. Like if you do hate something about your job or you don't want to work more hours at your job, then create that life that you're waiting for. If that comes at an income decrease and you're able to do that, I have done that. I left traveling nursing to become a nurse practitioner. That came in with a pay cut. Did I adjust my life? Yes, but then my quality of life increased, right? For me, that was a good negotiation, a good give off. And now I'm going to do another give off. I might not make not even half as much as I make as my W-2, but would I get 40 hours back from my life? Yes, I'm going to get back 40 hours, and I'm going to be remote, and I'm going to be working from home, and I can work on other passion projects that I have. For example, the school community, Violetta's podcast, a nice podcast. So even though it might look like a setback, for me, it is not. So that's what I want to mention.
Yeah, definitely. Try to see what skills you have or what you can build, and you'd be surprised. Like, there's you could do anything a side hustle. Like, I've done like the social media, like I've managed the social media for my husband's company. Now I gave that to my sister, and she's been like knocking it out the park with that. And then like even just admin stuff, I sold stuff, I thrifted stuff and resold them online and all that stuff, and all that I use that income to, you know, buy an asset that's also going to bring me income where I don't have to work as hard. So now I don't have to go do as much as side hustles. I also had this, she's a respiratory therapist. Her name is Yenny, and she does fix and flips, and her episode should be out by now. So I'll link that below. But she also did something similar. She started doing the fix and flips, and but now she has that option where she still gets to go maybe 1 or 2 times a week because she still loves that, right? She loves her career, and the only thing is she didn't love the hours. So she wanted more flexibility, and that like real estate allowed her to, cut back those hours where she can spend more time with her family, but still get to do something that she loves and everything. So, yeah, it's really just a lot of figuring out where you can bring some extra income. From the outside looking in, it might seem like, oh, it was so easy, like she was able to just quit and then bam, she has, her business and her real estate. But now this has been years in the coming. She's been building her rental property portfolio. She's been stacking up, her savings. And so, yeah, I am excited for you and wish you the best. And also, let's promote your practice too. Get some
Oh, yeah.
clients. We were just talking about that. We don't, sell or anything. And yeah, let's make sure you do that.
Yeah, if you're in the state of California, if you're suffering with any mental health problems, that being depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, and or if you know anybody that does need any type of mental health services, I offer telehealth sessions online, and it will be really easy to check out my website. Actually, we can link it in the description of this episode as well.
Mhm.
But I take insurances as well, so most major commercial insurance are accepted. And if I don't take your insurance, I can provide with a super bill where you can get reimbursed for your insurance purposes. So I speak Spanish. So if you need anything like that, please reach out to me and we'll be able to get on a call and talk about what's going on.
Yeah, excited for your new journey. Wish you the best. And next year we'll do an updated episode and see how your first year in your business, what you've learned, the struggles, ups and downs. So that'll be interesting. So other than that, we will see y'all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye, guys.